Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Πριν από 2 εβδομάδες, στο πρώτο μέρος του ντοκιμαντέρ «Ο Γητευτής των Ιταλών», είδαμε πως ένας νεαρός τροβαδούρος στα κρουαζιερόπλια κατάφερε μέσα σε μερικά χρόνια να γίνει αφεντικό κολοσιαίων επιχειρήσεων, μεγιστάνας των μίντια, πολυεκατομμυριούχος και στο τέλος ο μακροβιότερος μεταπολεμικός πρωθυπουργός της Ιταλίας. Απόψε, ο βίος και η πολιτεία του Σίλβιο Μπερλουσκόνι συνεχίζεται. Από τη δεύτερη πρωθυπουργική του θητεία, το 2001, τα διαβόητα σκάνδαλα και το μυστήριο της δολοφονίας ενός πρώην πράκτορα της ΚΚΕ, ως την εκλογική επιτυχία του 2008 και την ταπεινωτική παραίτηση μπροστά στην απειλή των αγορών και την επέλαση της οικονομικής κρίσης.
Risponderà quando è il suo turno. Stia buono.
Visto che avete confermato gli interventi, la Russia, anche la Russia, anche lei è andato a filmare, o sbaglio?
Quindi ho una mia personalità che si aggiunge a quella dell'uomo politico e c'è una cosa. Lei si sta rendendo non solo volgare, ma anche ridicolo. Lei si sta... Ma visto?
Ci costano 350 milioni di euro.
Io capisco che lei sia così arrabbiato e sa perché? Perché penso che tutta la mattina se va a pettinarsi davanti allo specchio si vede e si è già rovinato la giornata.
Everybody who doesn't agree with him is communist. Financial Times journalists are communists. Angela Merkel could be communist.
Loro sono l'Italia che odia, noi siamo l'Italia che ama.
For him, everything is just, so what? I'm natural, I'm myself. Everybody loves me because I'm just myself. I'm not a politician, I'm just, I'm what I am.
E lo lascio a voi augurando a tutti voi buon soggiorno in Italia. Più venite in Italia più ci fa piacere naturalmente. Arrivederci.
In psychology we call it the complex of Peter Pan. He is a youngster.
E se qualche volta mi succede di guardare in faccia una bella ragazza, meglio essere appassionati delle belle ragazze che gay. Quindi credo...
Even in China, asking me, look, what about bunga bunga? You can't stand it. You can't stand it,
Non erano puttane per tutti. Erano donne che volevano lui per quello che lui rappresentava, che è assolutamente normale.
What is more shocking in Italy is that Italian women often are at the side of Berlusconi. They say, and so what? He likes women, he likes sex, he likes us.
A tutti voi, ragazzi e ragazze del 2000, tanti auguri da questo ragazzo un po' stagionato, ma con il cuore sempre giovane.
What we as journalists found that the information coming about the relationship between Italian spies and Russian spies in Soviet era was a kind of dark period. We don't need to investigate. You just need to bury and forget it. I believe that this man was killed because he was our secret informer.
Depositeranno in atti che testimoniano questo. E sono in assoluto il maggiore perseguitato dalla magistratura di tutte le epoche, di tutta la storia degli uomini in tutto il mondo.
I simply tell you that he changed the law on which he had to be judged. Simply like that.
There's legislation designed to get him, Silvio Berlusconi, off the legal hook in a number of cases.
His approach is always, I'm your friend. You are against me, but why? What did I do for you? We can be good friends. He never understood that everybody around him wanted the same power he wanted.
Well, he managed to run this country. Mussolini once said, running Italians, running Italy is not really difficult or impossible. It is useless.
Ρώμη, 12 Νοεμβρίου 2011. Το πλήθος έξω από το Παλάτσο Κουιρινάλε, το Ιταλικό Προεδρικό Μέγαρο, πανηγυρίζει την αλλαγή σελίδας στην πολιτική ιστορία της χώρας. Ο Πρωθυπουργός Σίλβιο Μπερλουσκόνι έχει μόλις υποβάλει την παραίτησή του στον Πρόεδρο Τζόρτζιο Ναπολιτάνο. Έχουν περάσει 17 χρόνια από τότε που ο πολυεκατομμυριούχος μεγιστάνας των μίντια ανέβηκε για πρώτη φορά στην εξουσία. Τότε είχε εμφανιστεί στο πολιτικό στερέωμα σαν Σωτήρης. Το βράδυ της παραίτησής του έφυγε σαν τη μεγαλύτερη απειλή για την ευρωπαϊκή οικονομία. Το 1994, ο Σίλβιο Μπερλουσκόνι, πρόεδρος του κόμματος Φόρτσα Ιτάλια, γίνεται για πρώτη φορά πρωθυπουργός. Τον στηρίζουν η ξενοφοβική Λέγκα του Βορρά, του Ουμπέρτο Μπόση, και το μεταφασιστικό κόμμα της Εθνικής Συμμαχίας, του Τζιανφράνκο Φίνι. Ο κυβερνητικός συνασπισμός μοιάζει περισσότερο με ελικοφιλία. Λίγους μήνες μετά, η Λέγκα του Βορρά αποσύρει τη στήριξή της και η κυβέρνηση Μπερλουσκόνι καταρρέει. Ο τεχνοκράτης Λαμπέρτο Ντίνι ηγείται της νέας κυβέρνησης που θα οδηγήσει τη χώρα στις εκλογές του 1996. Εκείνη την αναμέτρηση θα την κερδίσει ένας καθηγητής πολιτικών επιστημών που κάποιοι λένε ότι ήρθε από το πουθενά. Είναι ο Ρωμάνο πρώτο.
Berlusconi did not take me seriously. Of course you cannot take seriously a man with an old bus collecting money from France. And so he, let's say, he underestimated my possibility.
Berlusconi è costretto a dare le dimissioni un anno dopo.
Η κεντροαριστερά θα αφήσει τον Μπερλουσκόνι στο καναβάτσο, αλλά δεν θα τον βγάλει νοκάουτ. Ο υπαρχηγός του μεγαλύτερου κόμματος που αντιπολιτεύτηκε το Φόρτσα Ιτάλια παραδέχεται την αδυναμία τους να αφοπλίσουν το μεγιστάνα των μίντια.
The big mistake of the center left at that time was the fact to didn't solve the conflict of interest problem and the concentration of the media power in the hands of Mr. Berlusconi.
They were caught in Berlusconi's play all the time. So the only thing they were able to say is Berlusconi is a fascist, Berlusconi, you know, that kind of things. I mean, really attacking, demonizing Berlusconi. One of the reasons, I think the most important one, because Berlusconi really survived such a long time, is really is to be searched into to be looked for in the incapacity of the left.
Ο Μπερλουσκόνι δεν συμβιβάστηκε ποτέ με την ήττα ως επιχειρηματίας. Δεν θα το έκανε ούτε ως πολιτικός. Εν ώψη των εκλογών του 2001, κάνει πέρα τον εγωισμό του και απλώνει ξανά γέφυρες στον παλιό του σύμμαχο, τον Ουμπέρτο Μπόση.
And he rebuilt this alliance for 5 years again and again, and with person he believes it and always believed in personal contact. One, he told us as a member of his party and represented a member of the parliament, please, each one of you must adopt one League North member and go to the dinner with him and invite for a Sunday and spend time with his own children and be nice with them, okay? Make friends. And it was he was serious.
Giuro di essere fedele alla Repubblica, di osservarne lealmente la Costituzione e le leggi.
Το Φόρτσα Ιτάλια θα κερδίσει τις εκλογές του 2001 και θα στείλει τον Μπερλουσκόνι από το Παλάτσο Γκρατσιόλι, την κατοικία του στη Ρώμη, στο Παλάτσο Τσίγκι, το πρωθυπουργικό γραφείο στην Πιάτσα Κολόνα. Μοναδική απειλή για τον παντοδύναμο επιχειρηματία και πρόεδρο της κυβέρνησης θα είναι πλέον ο κακός του εαυτός και η Ιταλική δικαιοσύνη.
Uguale per tutti i cittadini, ma questo cittadino è forse un po' più uguale degli altri, visto che il 50% degli italiani gli ha conferito la responsabilità di governare il paese. Per 7 anni gli vengono scaricati addosso dai giornali, dalle televisioni, in Italia, all'estero, quando anche questo qualcuno ha una responsabilità politica molto precisa.
Ο Μπερλουσκόνι και οι εταιρείες του αντιμετωπίζουν από τη δεκαετία του 80 μια καταιγίδα δικαστικών διώξεων. Κατηγορείται για δωροδοκία δικαστών και εφοριακών, για παράνομη χρηματοδότηση κομμάτων, για φοροδιαφυγή, απάτη, ψευδορκία. Στα δικαστήρια έχει στο πλευρό του ένα στρατό δικηγόρων. Το πραγματικό του όπλο όμως είναι η Βουλή. Εκεί έχει την πλειοψηφία και νομοθετεί.
He solved his problems changing the laws, cancelling, the law which was not suitable for him and so on. That's his system.
And, with an intelligent, progressive change of the laws, he was always out of any personal problem.
Particularly, for example, he decriminalized false accounting. Previously, that used to be a crime in Italy, punishable by imprisonment.
But then he's inventor of the long trial, in which the defense can call for as many witnesses as the defense wants, even 1,000, so that you reach prescription. So far, he has been free from many trials, but never, almost I think once, for not being responsible or being innocent. Only once, as far as I remember. In every other time it was because the accusation went under prescription.
Noi andiamo avanti, i processi che mi scaglieranno addosso Milano sono delle autentiche farse. Io sottrarrò qualche ora alla cura della cosa pubblica per andare là e sbugiardarli tutti. Queste cose qua a me mi caricano, agli italiani gli caricano. Viva l'Italia, viva Berlusconi.
Οι δικαστικές περιπέτειες δεν θα σταθούν εμπόδιο ούτε στην επιχειρηματική ούτε στην πολιτική του καριέρα. Ο Καβαλιέρε καταγράφει μόνο νίκες και στις 3 εξουσίες. Το παιχνίδι για την 4η είχε προπολού χαθεί.
Being a powerful publisher and controlling also several newspapers and magazines, he was in a position of intimidate anyone in the profession, and he did and succeeded. The example could be that one journalist that antagonized and frequently mentioned Berlusconi as a danger for the Italian democracy was Enzo Biagi. One day he had as a host in his program Roberto Benigni, the actor.
È un momento della campagna elettorale e della situazione politica italiana dove accadono cose spettacolari, inaudite, che non si sono mai viste. Non so se lei ha visto quello che succede, il Papa che è entrato per la prima volta in una moschea bambini geneticamente modificati, Berlusconi probabile Presidente del Consiglio, cose innaturali. Insomma, accadono stravolgimenti che fanno un po' pensare, ecco, a un momento eccezionale. È uno che gli piace proprio essere presente, gli piace proprio essere dappertutto, vuole proprio ogni cosa, insomma, come si può dire, è un po'... Gli piace essere protagonista, c'è un comizio, parla a lui, c'è un matrimonio, vuole essere lo sposo, a un funerale vuole essere il morto, vuole essere sempre il protagonista. Dovunque vada è lui presente, allora noi bisogna cercare di aiutarlo.
Biagi was fired, the most famous and celebrated Italian journalist, the one that co-founded the Italian public television. He was fired from one day to the next. The real culprit, and I say that as a journalist, in Italy are the media. They tolerated, they accepted, they let themselves to be intimidated. They said things that were untrue. They cover things that were evident and never said. They withdrew from anything that was difficult and created risk for the career. And this applies to a large 80% of my colleagues. It was the collapse of real journalism that made possible the adventure of Berlusconi. This would happen the same anywhere the medias are available for manipulations, and could not happen anywhere the media are not.
Ο Μπερλουσκόνι παρουσιάζει τους επικριτές και τους αντιπάλους του, είτε είναι πολιτικοί, είτε δικαστές, είτε δημοσιογράφοι, ως επικίνδυνους κομμουνιστές που θέλουν το κακό της Ιταλίας και τον πολεμούν για τη φιλελεύθερη πολιτική του.
Insistono ancora nel dire che io ho affermato che i comunisti mangiavano o mangiano i bambini. Continuano a ripeterlo. Allora leggetevi il libro nero del comunismo. Troverete che sotto la Cina di Mao non li mangiavano, ma li facevano bollire per concimare i campi. È una cosa orrenda, ma purtroppo è vera.
He knew of a deeply built-in, almost psychological hate of the sort of propertied, small propertied petty bourgeois classes for the communism. And he really got into it, and that was a success.
Η εφημερίδα La Repubblica του ασκούσε σκληρή κριτική από την εποχή που ήταν επιχειρηματίας. Όταν έγινε πρωθυπουργός, οι δημοσιογράφοι της ήταν κόκκινο πανί.
I receive myself, letters, mails, anonymous.
Saying what?
Saying what? Well, you are a bloody communist. You know, this is the leitmotif of Berlusconi. Everybody who doesn't agree with him is communist. Financial Times journalists are communists. Angela Merkel could be communist.
Ultima cosa, non leggete più i giornali. Non leggeteli più perché vi imbrogliano, Questa situazione ultima dei giornali è una tempesta di carta. Vedrete
My colleagues who were following Berlusconi in his trips, in the press conference, they were addressed sometimes among other colleagues, foreign colleagues, with I don't give you an answer to you because you are communist, because you represent a newspaper which I don't read, which I don't buy, which I hope it will close down.
Su questa cosa, guardi, io mi infurio, perché siccome posso giurare sui miei figli, non le rispondo più, perché lei ha una situazione pregiudiziale, è inutile che non perdo tempo a risponderle. Non basta, me ne vado o se ne va lei. E allora basta, spegniamoci. Guardi, mi fa infuriare questa cosa, perché è come se mi dicessero che non mi chiamo Silvio Berlusconi. È la stessa cosa. Avevamo ricusato questo giudice, che in tutte le situazioni si è messo in piazza per criticare l'operato del governo. È una cosa scandalosa. Vedrete cosa dirò in Parlamento.
Σύντομα, μετά τους δικαστικούς και τον αντιπολιτευόμενο τύπο, στο στόχαστρο του Πρωθυπουργού θα μπουν τα ίδια τα κόμματα της κεντροαριστεράς και οι ηγέτες τους. Τη βρώμικη δουλειά θα κάνουν τα κανάλια και η εφημερίδα του. Μια από τις πιο γνωστές επιχειρήσεις αρνητικής πολιτικής προπαγάνδας εκτελήσεται παράλληλα με ένα κατασκοπικό θρίλερ. Την υπόθεση Μητρόκιν.
Mitrokin was a former archivist in KGB in Moscow, and after the fall of communism, he was adopted by the MI6 in London. And what we as journalists found that the information coming about the relationship between Italian spies and Russian spies in Soviet era was a kind of dark period. We don't need to investigate. You just need to bury and forget it. And that was when Berlusconi asked me as a journalist, would you like to go ahead with your investigation as a member of the parliament? I said, wow, that's interesting. So I accepted. That's why I became a senator in 2001, and I was elected the chairman, president of this commission. At this point, in 2002, Berlusconi began to be close friend of Vladimir Putin.
Ο Σίλβιο Μπερλουσκόνι έγινε γνωστός διεθνώς κυρίως για δύο πράγματα. Για το εξεζητημένο χιούμορ του και τα διαβόητα πάρτι του στις βίλες του στη Σαρδινία, τη Ρώμη και το Μιλάνο. Ο διεθνής τύπος ασχολήθηκε περισσότερο με τις αμφιλεγόμενες επιλογές του στην προσωπική του ζωή και λιγότερο με άλλα πιο σοβαρά ζητήματα όπως τις δικαστικές του περιπέτειες και τις σφοδρές επιθέσεις του σε πολιτικούς αντιπάλους και επικριτές. Σήμερα ο δημοσιογράφος Πάολο Γκοζάντι, ο άνθρωπος που βρέθηκε κοντά του, έγραψε 2 βιβλία για αυτόν και στο τέλος πολιτεύτηκε με το κόμμα του, αποκαλύπτει μια ενδεχόμενη εμπλοκή του Ιταλού πρώην Πρωθυπουργού σε μια σκοτεινή υπόθεση. Πρόκειται για ένα από τα πιο γνωστά θρίλερ κατασκοπίας των τελευταίων ετών. Το 2002, ο δημοσιογράφος Πάολο Γκοζάντι δέχεται την πρόταση του Μπερλουσκόνι, πολιτεύεται με το κόμμα του και ως γερουσιαστής γίνεται πρόεδρος της Επιτροπής Μητρόκιν. Οι γερουσιαστές ερευνούν τις πληροφορίες του πρώην πράκτορα της ΚΑΚΕΜΠΕ, Βασίλη Μητρόκιν, για επαφές Ιταλών και Ρώσων κατασκόπων στα χρόνια της Σοβιετικής Ένωσης.
At this point, in 2002, Berlusconi began to be close friend of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin until then was a known man, young, very smart, but KGB officer.
Σύντομα, ο γερουσιαστής και πρώην δημοσιογράφος της La Stampa και της La Repubblica θα αντιληφθεί ότι ανάμεσα στην Επιτροπή και τα αρχεία της ΚΑΚΕΜΠΕ υψώνεται ένα απροσπέλαστο τείχος.
My work was stopped by a mysterious power in Italy and in Russia, and we received a lot of threats coming from Russia. And I went to Berlusconi and said, listen, your friend and his new KGB, they are threatening us. They are sabotaging my work. Berlusconi was very embarrassed. Was embarrassed because he had to make a choice between me, meaning not me personally, but the Italian Parliament, Commission and investigation, and his new body, the Vladimir the Friend.
Ο Γκουζάντι γράφει μια επιστολή ζητώντας τη βοήθεια του Βλαντιμίρ Πούτιν στο έργο της Επιτροπής. Ζητεί μάλιστα από τον Μπερλουσκόνι να δώσει ο ίδιος το γράμμα στον Ρώσο πρόεδρο. Λίγες μέρες αργότερα δέχεται ένα τηλεφώνημα από τον γερουσιαστή του Forza Italia, Fabrizio Cecchito.
Putin was in Berlusconi's house in Sardinia, and they were all having a dinner, and Cecchito told me, do not believe that Berlusconi is delivering the letter. He's saying nothing, and he doesn't want to have any kind of trouble with his close friend. That's when I became first suspicious and then very angry, and I consider Berlusconi in this case a kind of traitor. He betrayed the Italian parliament, choosing Putin as a partner instead of the Italian party.
Ο Γκουζάντι θα προσλάβει για να βοηθήσει το έργο της Ιταλικής Επιτροπής έναν πρώην αξιωματικό της ΚΑΚΕΜΠΕ που ζει στο Λονδίνο, τον Αλεξάνδερ Λιτβινέγκο.
What did you ask from him? I wanted to know in which ways Putin, KGB was sabotaging us. They were defamating our commission on the newspaper, and they were closing the archives, denying every kind of requests. So it was an end threatening our people in Moscow. We had links there, and they were all scared, and some of them disappeared, just disappeared. He told us he had the two men in Moscow providing him information who were killed, and his superior, General Trofimos, was killed.
Ο Ρώσος πρώην πράκτορας δηλητηριάζεται μυστηριωδώς με ραδιενεργό πολόνιο και τον Νοέμβρη του 2006 πεθαίνει.
Well, I believe that this man was killed because he was our secret informer about what was happening in Moscow against us, against the Mitrokhin affair.
Για τον δημοσιογράφο και γερουσιαστή, η υπόθεση Μιτρόκιν δεν ήταν απλά μια υπόθεση κατασκοπίας. Ούτε βέβαια μια προσπάθεια του Μπερλουσκόνι να εμπλέξει τους πολιτικούς του αντιπάλους με δουλειές της ΚΑΚΕΜΠΕ.
Here is another thing, is infiltration in power. Sometimes in the government, sometimes in the huge state companies. And there was, and partially still is, this network. And this network is supporting Berlusconi. Berlusconi and the former Italian communists are absolutely pro-Berlusconi in foreign politics. They supported him for his pro-Gaddafi politics and pro-Putin politics. So Berlusconi, strange to say, in foreign politics was the leader of a very widespread feeling and interests common to the Italian left.
You're talking about a network of people beyond espionage, in business, in politics, in power in this country, working on behalf of who?
Russian government. Russian government, Gazprom especially. Gazprom is a huge network. It's not just gas, it's power, it's money, it's according to many corruption in networks, corruption in newspapers and journalists.
Is Gazprom in Italy?
Oh, yes.
Η δημόσια υποστήριξη του Μπερλουσκόνι στον Πούτιν κατά τη διάρκεια του πολέμου στη Γεωργία του 2008 δίνει την αφορμή στον Γκουζάντι να γυρίσει την πλάτη στον Ιταλό Πρωθυπουργό και να ανεξαρτητοποιηθεί στην Ιταλική Γερουσία.
I felt sick, really, and I wrote on my blog, I cannot stay with this man anymore, and in a few days I left this party before the sexual affairs began. Noemi Letizia was the first scandal showing him going to this 18 years old girl for her birthday, which showed a former relationship when she was 17, 16.
No, lui è venuto, mi ha portato il regalo che poi in Italia conoscono tutti, in America non lo conoscono, è comunque un collier d'oro e diamanti. È molto ma molto bello, un regalo veramente bello. E poi è stato a tavola, ha cenato e poi è dovuto andare perché aveva impegni lavorativi.
Από αυτή τη νεαρή κοπέλα θα προκληθεί μια χιονοστιβάδα ροζ σκανδάλων που θα καταπλακώσει τον Μπερλουσκόνι. Στο εξής, ο αντιπολιτευόμενος και ο διεθνής τύπος θα βάζουν στο περιθώριο την πολιτική και θα εστιάζουν στις προσωπικές του αδυναμίες.
Io sono andato non so quanti matrimoni, festeggiamenti, anniversari e avete montato una cosa indegna su questa cosa. Vergognatevi. E gli italiani sono con me. Sono con me, 75%. No, veramente, una stampa di cui doversi vergognare. Arrivederci.
Veronica Lario ha annunciato di voler chiedere il divorzio da Sίλvιο Μπερλουσκόνι. È una vicenda personale che mi addolora e che rientra nella dimensione privata, ha detto il Presidente del Consiglio.
Μάιος 2009. Η εφημερίδα La Repubblica δημοσιεύει μια επιστολή της συζύγου του. Γράφει ότι είναι άρρωστος με το σεξ. Τον παρομοιάζει με δράκο, στον οποίο προσφέρονται παρθένες για φήμη και δόξα. Λίγους μήνες αργότερα έρχονται στην επιφάνεια πριβέ πάρτι του Ιταλού Πρωθυπουργού με εκλεκτούς καλεσμένους και δεκάδες νεαρές όμορφες κοπέλες. Ο φίλος του, Μουαμάρ Καντάφι, τα αποκαλεί στα βερβερικά «μπουγκα μπουγκα πάρτι».
Well, the bunga bunga parties are a bit, kind of like very lively parties with girls dressing up. It's basically the idea of a sultan with an harem. A lot of girls, there's lots of playing around. They're not really filthy parties. They're more likely to be parties where there is a bit of touching, a bit of pinching, a bit of nudity, but nothing obscene.
Ένας από τους μόνιμους προσκεκλημένους σε αυτά τα πάρτι είναι ο διάσημος Ιταλός κριτικός τέχνης και πρώην υπουργός του Μπερλουσκόνι, Vittorio Scarpi.
Quando finisce la festa, immagino alle 2 o alle 3 di notte, quello che poi accade con te che sali in camera e vai con una ragazza o meno sono fatti tuoi. Il resto è il clima di una festa in casa, di una festa in una discoteca, in cui le ragazze fanno quello che fanno dappertutto, ammiccano, seducono, ma non c'è, è diventato invece una specie di casino in cui le ragazze andavano per scopare. No, andavano per divertimento.
Με πάθος και κοινικότητα που περισσεύει, ο Σκάρμπι υποστηρίζει την ανταποδοτικότητα. Από τα λόγια του καταλαβαίνει κανείς ότι στα πάρτι του Μπερλουσκόνι μια νεαρή κοπέλα μπορεί να εξαργυρώσει ποικιλοτρόπως την ομορφιά της.
Tu fai il produttore di cinema, tu fai il produttore di televisione, sei un'opportunità importante. Io che voglio lavorare, magari lavorare perché sono bella, so che tu mi sarai utile. Non perché mi dai dei soldi, ma perché mi dai delle opportunità. E quindi non erano puttane per tutti, erano donne che volevano lui per quello che lui rappresentava, che è assolutamente normale.
You want to have a very speedy career, you need to go to the party and be nice. Then I spoke with a lot of them. There are some of them, we were just decoration. Others say we were just, allowed to be close to him. And eventually people like Patrizia Daddario, an escort, a professional prostitute, brought there as a present.
She was a present. She was a gift from a local entrepreneur, local business guy from Apulia who wanted to please Berlusconi. This is the way lots of people did, to please the Sultan, to please the emperor.
Στην Ιταλία η σκανδαλολογία βρίσκεται πλέον στο επίκεντρο της πολιτικής διαμάχης. Οι αντίπαλοι του Μπερλουσκόνι θέτουν το ερώτημα αν μπορεί να κυβερνά τη χώρα ένας πολιτικός με αυτού του είδους την προσωπική ζωή.
I was so embarrassed, even in China, asking me, look, what about bunga bunga, you can't stand it, you can't stand it,
Anche la sinistra voleva venire al bunga bunga. In coro hanno tutti citato il bunga bunga, che poi sa cosa vuol dire. Andiamo a divertirci, andiamo a ballare, andiamo a bere qualcosa. Quindi anche la sinistra è stata conquistata a questa mia visione della vita, che non è tanto lavoro, ma che...
al tema, Presidente, si parla di Zeffirelli.
Οι επικριτές του Ιταλού Πρωθυπουργού τον κατηγορούν ότι επιλέγει ακόμη και υπουργούς με τα ίδια κριτήρια που καλεί τις κοπέλες στα πάρτι του και αναδεικνύει παρουσιάστριες στην τηλεόρασή του. Για παράδειγμα, αναφέρουν την πρώην Υπουργό Ίσων Ευκαιριών, Μάρα Καρφάλη.
Even we don't think about a personal, physical relationship with Berlusconi, certainly Berlusconi adored her, and she wasn't just a TV showgirl. She speaks very well, she plays piano, she's very elegant, she's beautiful. And she said, she admitted in an interview, saying, yes, it's true, I was a beautiful woman, and Berlusconi offered me the possibility to go in politics. I accepted, and so what? I started because I'm beautiful. Now I can think that I'm in politics because I'm good.
Mara Carfagna, bella, dolce, intelligente, ma una donna con le palle.
Anyway, the rumor was spread that we can have a beautiful career, just find a way to reach Berlusconi with a book. A book means the photo book. Maybe a first step in a TV show, the second one, but ideally to reach the king, the emperor, who could just say, "Haha, that's nice. Do we have a cell phone of this girl?" And say, "Hello, I'm your prime minister. I saw your book. You're beautiful. I hope you have a beautiful career." And Berlusconi say, "Yes, why not? I'm encouraging young people, even beautiful and handsome people, because Italy needs to have a nice, beautiful youth instead of these old, kind of horrible politicians of the past. We are the renovation of the." This is also typical of Berlusconism. Berlusconism is very solid and very infiltrated, eradicated in the Italian society.
Oh, e quando ho fatto così, io ho la fila di quelli che mi vogliono sposare, scusami, Giorgia, faccio una precisazione.
Poi è pieno
ho
di
la
ricchi
fila
e
e ti
brutti.
spiego anche,
Voglio dire.
credo di sapere perché. Punto primo, sono simpatico, no? Punto secondo, ho un po' di grano, si sa. Punto terzo, la leggenda dice che ci so fare. Punto quarto, pensano, lui è vecchio, muore subito e io eredito.
The summer of 2009 is the year we learn that Berlusconi, a man in his 70s, likes to be surrounded by girls, and eventually he actually manages to get in trouble with girls who are underage. It's not a crime in Italy to have sex with a girl who is underage. It's a crime in Italy to pay for sex with a girl who is underage, and that apparently is what happened in 2010 with a Moroccan girl called Ruby Rubacuori, and that is the final scandal and the final court case Berlusconi is tried for at the court of Milan.
E allora confermo, al di là di questo, che nella mia vita io non ho mai, neppure una volta, dovuto dare dei soldi a qualcuno per una prestazione sessuale. E le dico anche perché. Perché da chi ama conquistare, la gioia e la soddisfazione più bella è la conquista.
Every time I met him, he always said, "Believe me, Paolo, it's not true. That's communist and prosecutor stuff. Just a cover-up, a total invention." He told me, believe me, they were just elegant dinner, just elegant, of course, with elegant girls, elegant ladies, and we sang, we danced, but nothing sexual.
Buonasera Miriam Leone, Miss Italia 2008. Allora, vede, questa ragazza rappresenta l'Italia, quindi... grazie. Grazie mille. Allora, prego.
His dream is to be considered by the women as daddy. A little dirty and tricky daddy, but still a daddy. somebody who is seductive and protective. A little pimp, a little daddy, a little brother, but never just a lover.
Young women are for him just a surrogate. It's a sort of theater, a sort of sexy theater.
Για κάποιους ειδικούς, όπως ο ψυχολόγος Αλεσάνδρο Αμαντόρη, ο Σίλβιο Μπερλουσκόνι διαβάζεται σαν ανοιχτό βιβλίο. Το βιβλίο του έχει τίτλο «Μητέρα Σίλβιο».
His main fear is not to be loved. So all his efforts are in the direction to have a strong emotional and empathic relationship with his voters. And this is a typical feminine need.
Devo dire che in questo assomiglia a un grande italiano che sarebbe stato, non so fino in fondo, contro di lui, che si chiama Pasolini. Pasolini, molto discusso, aveva un problema, voleva piacere a tutti. E quindi se trovava uno che lo criticava, cercava di convincerlo che si sbagliava. Ecco, in questo Berlusconi è qualcosa di pasoliniano, cioè cercava e ha sempre cercato di piacere.
His approach is always, I'm your friend. You are against me, well, why? What did I do to you? We can be good friends.
Ο Μπερλουσκόνι θα κάνει γρήγορα φίλους στη διεθνή σκηνή. Το σκέρτσο του όμως, κάποιες φορές, μοιάζει με την παράσταση ενός παλιάτσου. Λένε ότι ορισμένες συμπεριφορές του αγγίζουν τα όρια της φάρσας. Στη Σύνοδο Κορυφής του ΝΑΤΟ το 2009 αφήνει τους ξένους ηγέτες να περιμένουν για να μιλήσει στο τηλέφωνο.
In the beginning, it was perceived as interesting curiosity, you know. It was seen more and more as a question mark. Then he started his embarrassing declaration behaviors.
Comunque vi devo portare tanti saluti da un signore che si chiama, aspetta, era uno abbronzato, Barack Obama. Voi non ci crederete, ma sono andati a prendere in spiaggia il sole in due perché è abbronzata anche la moglie.
For him, everything is just, so what? I'm natural, I'm myself. Everybody loves me because I'm just myself. I'm not a politician. I'm just, you know, I'm what I am. And they love me because I am what I am.
Putin mi ha raccontato la seguente storiella. Berlusconi che mi dice ha grande fortuna in tutta la Russia. Berlusconi cade da un alto grattacielo e nella caduta naturalmente si dispera e fa però passa davanti a una finestra del 10° piano dove c'è una bellissima ragazza che gli sta spogliando. Ecco, mi sembra anche questa una storia molto coerente.
Στην Ιταλία, την ώρα που η κυβέρνηση Μόντι προωθεί μια σειρά από ριζικές μεταρρυθμίσεις, ο Μπερλουσκόνι έχει ήδη αρχίσει τις δηλώσεις για λάθος συνταγή που δεν οδηγεί στην ανάταση της ιταλικής οικονομίας. Πρόσφατα, μάλιστα, τόνισε την ανάγκη ο ίδιος και οι υπουργοί του που έχουν εκλεγεί από το λαό να επιστρέψουν στις θέσεις τους. Θα διεκδικήσει ξανά την πρωθυπουργία, θα ορίσει κάποιο διάδοχο και θα κρατήσει για τον εαυτό του το ρόλο ενός επίτιμου ηγέτη της κεντροδεξιάς. Αναλυτές και άνθρωποι που τον γνωρίζουν πιστεύουν ότι η παραίτησή του τον περασμένο Νοέμβρη δεν σημαίνει σε καμία περίπτωση και την απόσυρσή του από την πολιτική σκηνή.
Questo è il mio appello.
Αυτό είναι το πρώτο σημάδι ότι ο αυτοκράτορας είναι, αν όχι γυμνός, τότε σίγουρα τρωτός. Μια απλή λιποθυμία από υπερκόπωση ήταν η επίσημη εκδοχή. Λίγους μήνες νωρίτερα, στις εκλογές του Μαρτίου του 2006, ο συνασπισμός της κεντροαριστεράς και ο Ρωμάνο Πρόντι έχουν κερδίσει ξανά τον Μπερλουσκόνι, αλλά με διαφορά μόλις 40.000 ψήφων. Ο Γητευτής των Ιταλών θα επιστρέψει πανίσχυρος 2 χρόνια αργότερα με ένα νέο κόμμα.
Siamo la prima forza politica in Italia. Siamo il popolo della libertà. Vogliamo portare anche nel tuo comune il governo del fare.
Viva l'Italia, l'Italia che ha scelto di credere ancora in questo sogno. Presidente, siamo con te. Meno male che Silvio c'è.
Το Popolo della Libertà θα πετύχει μια σαρωτική πρωτοφανή νίκη για την πολιτική ιστορία της Ιταλίας απέναντι σε μια παραπέουσα κεντροαριστερά μετά την πρόταση μομφής στην κυβέρνηση Πρόντι. Το νέο ξεκίνημα του Μπερλουσκόνι δεν θα τον διασώσει από την πολιτική φθορά. Στους λάθος χειρισμούς, τις αμφιλεγόμενες προσωπικές επιλογές και τις δικαστικές διαμάχες θα προσθεθούν η κακοδαιμονία και κάποιες διαβολικές ατυχείς συμπτώσεις. Για παράδειγμα, απέναντι από τα κεντρικά γραφεία του κόμματος στη Ρώμη βρίσκεται ένα κατεξοχήν ανδρικό nightclub. Ο Μάσιμο Ταρτάλια, ένας 42χρονος με ψυχολογικά προβλήματα, τραυματίζει τον Ιταλό Πρωθυπουργό σε συγκέντρωση του Popolo della Libertà. Του πετά στο πρόσωπο μια βαριά μινιατούρα του καθεδρικού ναού του Μιλάνου. Οι σωματοφύλακες του Ιταλού Πρωθυπουργού πιάστηκαν στον ύπνο. Κανείς τους δεν μυρίστηκε τον κίνδυνο. Κάπως έτσι ευνηδιάστηκε και ο Μπερλουσκόνι από την επίθεση των κερδοσκόπων στην Ιταλία και την επέλαση της οικονομικής κρίσης.
A wild day on Wall Street as Italian debt woes worsen. The yield on the benchmark Italian government bonds spiked above 7%, evidence that investors are losing faith in the country's ability to repay its debt.
I think that because of Berlusconi, the country was the first target of speculation.
The main fault of Berlusconi, economic management. There are all other faults of Berlusconi, but economic management, that he really did nothing. He let really expenditure go on quietly and continuously, progressively.
Noi siamo veramente un'economia forte, la terza economia europea, la settima economia del mondo. La vita in Italia è la vita di un paese benestante. In tutte le occasioni questo si dimostra, i consumi non sono diminuiti, i ristoranti sono pieni, gli aerei con fatica si riesce a prenotare dei posti, i posti di vacanze nei ponti sono assolutamente iperprenotati. Ecco, non credo che voi vi accorgiate andando a vivere in Italia che l'Italia senta un qualche cosa che possa assomigliare a una forte crisi.
But in 2011, in the summer, Italy learned that it's the subject of a massive speculation from international financial institutions and hedge funds, and has to pass a budget, a very, very emergency budget, strict emergency budget, hitting the working classes. That is summer 2011. Berlusconi immediately realized that Italy is not that power, the economical power that is completely a safe house from the credit crunch that has hit America and Great Britain.
Dicono che qualsiasi soluzione andrebbe bene per loro, purché Berlusconi lasci libera la poltrona di Premier. La mia risposta è molto semplice. Piuttosto che occuparsi della mia poltrona, l'opposizione farebbe meglio a pensare all'interesse dell'Italia.
Ο Ιταλός Πρωθυπουργός αρνείται να παραιτηθεί. Ελπίζει ότι τα μέτρα λιτότητας και οι διαρθρωτικές αλλαγές που προωθεί θα τον κρατήσουν όρθιο στο Ιταλικό Κοινοβούλιο.
Berlusconi tried to resist until the end and maybe more. But the situation was absolutely impossible for him and for the country.
E continuano a dire Berlusconi a casa, creandomi un certo disagio.
perché disponendo di 20 case non saprei in quale andare.
Από τον Ιούνιο στο Νοέμβρη του 2011, οι πιέσεις στον Μπερλουσκόνι είναι ασφικτικές. Η αντιπολίτευση στο εσωτερικό, οι αντάρτες βουλευτές του κόμματός του, οι Ευρωπαίοι ηγέτες και κυρίως ο διεθνής τύπος δεν του ασκούν απλά σφοδρή κριτική. Τον σπρώχνουν προς την έξοδο.
Qu'avez-vous dit exactement à monsieur Berlusconi? Est-ce qu'il vous a donné des engagements sur de nouvelles réformes en Italie? Est-ce que vous êtes rassuré après l'avoir entendu, alors que l'Italie est de plus en plus dans la ligne de mire, notamment des agences de notation?
Nous étions ensemble dans ce rendez-vous. Et comment dit-on, nous faisons confiance au sens de la responsabilité de l'ensemble des autorités italiennes, politiques, financières et économiques.
Italy cannot sustain a situation like that. The head of state calls Berlusconi, but Berlusconi, just before going to the head of state on a Tuesday, on a Monday he has a very important meeting in Milan, where he usually stays every Monday, and he has a meeting with his daughter, the person in charge of his publishing company Mondadori, his son, the CEO in charge of his Mediaset empire, Fedele Confaronieri, the very guy that we found a schoolmate of Berlusconi, his right-hand man, and his lawyer. They tell him, Silvio, you have to quit for the sake of your own interests, for the sake of your own companies.
The rumor is that he only decided to resign on the day that he learned that his own personal assets in Mediaset had slid 12% in a single day, and he realized that the game was up not only for Italy but also for his own personal fortune unless he made a temporary withdrawal from politics, which he decided to do.
On Saturday, Berlusconi resigns, Monti gets appointed as Prime Minister. That is the end of the third Berlusconi government.
He's the only businessman, I don't remember another businessman in the world becoming for so long time leader and prime minister in a country, second line country like Italy, which is the sixth or seventh economic power in the world.
Το φαινόμενο Μπερλουσκόνι απασχολεί αναλυτές, δημοσιογράφους, πολιτικούς, ιστορικούς, ακόμη και ψυχολόγους. Πώς έπιθε τους ψηφοφόρους ξανά και ξανά? Ποιο ήταν το μυστικό του?
The advantage that he's one of the greatest salesmen I never seen in my life. You know, he can sell you everything. You know, he represents and the people who want when they drive want to park in the second line. You know, let's say, and he was so able to attract them.
Evidently, in this country, the tendency of being governed by someone that tells you that he will take care and you don't have to worry is a strong appeal.
In the last 20 years, the young Italian didn't meet the old system of parties, ideologies, left, right, communist. It's just pro-Berlusconi, anti-Berlusconi, period. It's a kind of desert land.
The more things are complex, the more people look for simple solutions. And Silvio Berlusconi has been one of the first political leaders to understand this paradox.
Is there another Berlusconi in the horizon?
No. I think that he is a sort of a statistic anomaly. Something that can happen just once ever 10 million cases. No, it is impossible.
Is a human money factor maker, more or less, which is a word that which doesn't exist. But there is this combination. We have a businessman, we have a showman, we have politicians, attractive politician, disgusting politician.
Sarebbe perfetto per un quadro di Andy Warhol, è un personaggio perfetto per la pop art, è un personaggio e questo suo essere personaggio è la ragione di un successo.
He would be remembered as a very loved man, but also with a very hated man. I think that he will be remembered as a sort of psychological experiment.
History, of course, will judge Berlusconi. I think the country will have a part of the voters still convinced Berlusconi is the leader. But the rest of the country understood that his adventure was something of very dangerous for the country.
The worst legacy is that Italians are divided. I wasn't proud to be Italian with him as a prime minister. For the people who like him, the best. The best.
Lo rifaresti? Anch'io mi dico sì. Sì, lo rifarei. Perché nonostante tutto, nonostante tutte le sofferenze, sono convinto che non ci sia nulla di più bello e di più nobile che battersi per il proprio paese e per la nostra libertà.
You won't be surprised if he try in the future to be prime minister again.
Not surprising, yes. Not surprising.
You never know, and it's very possible. It's possible. You can say, yes, I felt tired. Now I feel well. I'm back. Why not? Hello, I'm Silvio. It's could be in his own typical style.